Today, we're making the Ultimate Season 22 tier list. First up, we have BB, starting in the F tier. Now, BB has potential in all game modes, especially because her home run bar can come in clutch with her knockback, but overall, her range comes up short, and she's overall not a very good brawler in the meta. Next up, we have Hank. Now, Hank was good when he first launched because of the ability to heal while he was blowing his bubble, but once I took that ability away, Hank has just never been quite good enough to survive. Next up, we have Doug. Now, Doug's ability to revive people was cool when he first came out, and he recently got a buff to his super, which makes it a lot easier to hit on teammates. But just like BB, Doug's range comes up short, and he just isn't good enough in this current meta. Finally, rounding off the F tier, we have El Primo. Now, El Primo may be a fun brawler for new players, but it's really hard to get a super and get close to enemies. And apart from Showdown, in which he can get cubes easily, he's just not a very viable brawler. Starting off at the bottom of the D tier, we have Tick. Now, Tick is an okay brawler when played well, but his damage is really subpar, and his super, even though it may look good, is very easy to take out. Next, we have Grom. Grom, another thrower like Tick, just doesn't have the damage to be able to do a lot of, stuff in all game modes, but he's better than Tick slightly because he can actually deal damage from a lot longer range and a lot more consistently, not relying on 3 projectiles like Tick. And his super, it can be very helpful, especially back in the old game mode Siege. Okay, next in the D tier, we have Frank. Now, Frank is another brawler that I see a lot of new players liking, but overall, his ability to have to wind up before he releases his hammer just becomes too much of a downfall for him. Also in the D tier, we have Poco. Now, Poco, when played well, can be a very helpful healer, especially in 3v3, but overall, his damage is subpar and is a bit of a waste of a spot on a team. Next, we have Penny. Now, Penny can be a good brawler, and in low trophies, when opponents line up, her splash attack can do a lot of damage, and her turret can also be helpful, especially in game modes like Heist. Other than that, Penny is just not that good of a brawler. Also in the D tier, we have Barley. Now, Barley can be a really fun brawler in certain Heist game modes because he can just throw onto the safe behind a wall, but his damage is a little bit low, and his health is also low, so that's why Barley's in the D tier. Rounding off the D tier, we have Buzz. Now, Buzz is a brawler I really like because his stun can be so fun, and also his DPS in close range is really good, but Buzz just can't charge his super fast enough, and really makes him a bit of a waste for the beginning of the time in a match. Okay, starting off in the C tier, we have Daryl. Now, Daryl can be a really good pick in Brawl Ball if you're really good at combos, because he can just roll forward while shooting the ball. But overall, unless Daryl can get really close, which isn't that easy, especially when people can get away from his roll pretty easily, he can't be that awesome. Next in the C tier, we have Carl. Now, Carl is also really good on selective maps, kind of like Barley, but he's only really good on maps with a lot of walls, so his pickaxe can return to him quickly, and overall, C tier is fit for him. Next, we have Eve. Now, Eve is an interesting brawler. I've always thought of her as, previously as one of the worst chromatics, and even now I still think she's one of the worst mythics, but her eggs, sometimes it's just too easy to get away from that last egg, and even with that star power, Eve's super is also a little bit underwhelming with her baby's poison damage. Next in the C tier, we have Sprout. Now, Sprout can be a really fun brawler against certain maps, but overall, Sprout's overall design seems a little bit lackluster, and her super is only really helpful for brawlers that rely on getting through one certain passage. So on maps like Ring of Fire and Hot Zone, Sprout can be really fun, but other than that, not that great. Next in the C tier, we have Ash. Now, Ash is a fun brawler to play if you're really good at the game, because you can just use that rage meter to deal a ton of damage, and the super can also be really controlling in 3v3, especially Brawl Ball. But other than that, Ash is pretty mid. Next up in the C tier, we have Brock. Now, Brock can do a lot of damage if he can unload quickly and if somebody isn't moving in particular. But his super, although very, very good for area control, often doesn't land too many rockets, but Brock is fit for the C tier. Next in the C tier, we have Sam. Now, Sam has always been an interesting brawler. I've always thought about which form he's better in, with his Knuckle Busters or without them. Now, a lot of people have told me that he's a lot better with his Knuckle Busters, but his unload speed is also really good without them. Overall, Sam is a good brawler, but I think his gimmick is just a little bit too eh. And if you lose his glove and it gets stuck on water, he can be really hopeless. Next, we have Mr. P. Now, Mr. P seems like a really annoying brawler sometimes when his suitcase just bounces you and he seems like a thrower. But overall, he's actually pretty easy to counter once you learn him, especially if you're playing a thrower. Next, we have Surge. Now, Surge is now legendary, actually, but he just has a hard time, recovering from death. If you get him to his fully upgraded stage and you're really good at not taking shots, not taking damage, he can be one of the best brawlers in the game. But if you die, or if you're playing game modes like Brawl Ball and Knockout where his stage resets, it can be really hard to succeed with Surge. Next in the C tier, we have Griff. Now, Griff is another really fun brawler when played well, but overall, he's just balanced, which is why I put him in the C tier. Next in the C tier, we have Gus. Now, Gus is a very interesting brawler because he's one of the best supports in the game, or at least he used to be. But the thing is that with his gadget, where he blows up his ghosts, he was able to deal a ton of damage and survive with his super. However, after his gadget got nerfed, he's dropped a little bit, so that's why he's in the upper C tier. Next on the C tier, we have Chester. Now, Chester is also a really fun brawler thanks to his many supers that he has, but oftentimes if you get the wrong one, or even if you can see what's coming and you try and change it, he can just be a little bit too gimmicky of a brawler, although his 3 and 4 bell shots can do a lot of damage. And rounding out the C tier, we have Meg. Now, Meg has gotten a lot better since she first came out. She was one of the worst brawlers in the game when she first came out, which isn't really fit for a legendary brawler, but she's gotten a lot better and has become a better tank over the years, and she's also been able to survive a lot better against these current hypercharges, which is nice thanks to her second stage. Although it can be annoying to be stuck in Little Meg, she's still a decent brawler. Okay, now we're moving on to the B tier. And starting out at the bottom of it is Mortis. Now, Mortis is what a lot of beginners think the worst brawler in the game. But really, when he's played well, especially in Brawl Ball, combined with one of the best movement speeds in the game, he can be a really potent brawler. Next, we have Byron. Now, Byron is a really interesting brawler as well because he can heal and deal damage with his basic attack. Now, Byron, when he's played well with good teammates, can be a really annoying brawler because his teammates can't die and you're stuck taking poison damage every second. So that's why Byron's in the B tier. Next in the B tier, we have Stu. Now, Stu, I've always thought to be an interesting brawler too because he gets his super after one shot. But overall, his super is a little bit underwhelming to me. I mean, you can dodge one shot or maybe a super, but it's not really the super that screams, it's going to help you in Knockout when you're the last one standing, or is going to save you on the goal line in Brawl Ball. So that's why Stu's in the B tier. Still a really good brawler when played well, though. Next in the B tier, we have B. Now, B can deal a ton of damage with her Stinger Shot and ends up getting a lot of kills in 3v3 because of it. But her regular attack can be really hard, and if you're somebody who struggles with aiming, then B is not the brawler for you, and you're not going to do very well with her. Next in the B tier, we have 8-Bit. Now, 8-bit has gotten really good lately because of these hypercharges that have been coming. And, his damage booster is just so OP. For those hypercharged brawlers, they already have a damage buff, and his damage booster makes it even better. Overall, 8-bit's damage in general is also really good, but of course having the slowest movement speed in the game does not help. Next, in the B tier, we have Nita. Now, Nita is also a really fun brawler for beginners because her bear can almost feel like an extra player because of just, early low power brawlers can't really take her out. The bear rather. But other than heist at higher trophies, when her hyper bear combined with her Falc's fur gadget, which gives her bear a shield, Nita really isn't that viable after that. Next up, we have Max. Now, Max is a really fun brawler also, thanks to her 4 ammo slots. It makes her burst damage really good, and speeding up her teammates, especially in key modes like Brawl Ball, can be helpful. But other than that, Max is fit to be in the B tier. Next up, we have Willow. Now, Willow is a really overrated brawler. Her super does seem really OP. You can take control of another brawler, and especially in Showdown or really any other mode where poison clouds are prominent, it's really annoying because you can just walk them into the poison. But her super does have a really short range, and overall her actual shots can be hard to hit for people who once again struggle with aiming. After Willow, we have Ems. Now, Ems is a pretty balanced brawler because she can deal a lot of damage when people are far away or like mid-range and stay in her perfume. But, when people get close to her hairspray can't really do that much damage, and she usually ends up dying. Next in the B tier, we have Bonnie. Now, Bonnie is another really fun brawler thanks to her charging in like 4 shots. She can really just, be able to switch between that high damage long range brawler, and of course her super lets her jump and get into her smaller, more close range form. But she's just not that incredible against these current hypercharges, and she's just a pretty balanced brawler in general, not crazy damage in her regular form, and also only having 1 ammo slot. So she's staying in the B tier. Next, we have Jackie. Now, Jackie's also in the B tier because she has a hypercharge. Now, this hypercharge has really helped enemies stay close to her, and she can team with in certain situations. Other than that, she has a hard time letting people get close to her and, struggles just like Doug. Now, next, in the B tier, we have Bull. Now, Bull, also like Jackie, has a really strong hypercharge that allows his super to become really good. But, also like Jackie, he just has a hard time getting people close to him. And Bull, of course, like other brawlers, see Daryl and Shelly, he has a shotgun, so he deals more damage in close range. But other than that, he's just okay. But his hypercharge does help him a lot. Next in the B tier, we have Tara. Now, Tara can also be a really fun brawler. Her super can cancel out other people, but, she just has a little bit of a hard time getting people, to take a ton of damage from her cards, and overall is an okay brawler. Next, we have Ruffs. Now, Ruffs is also a really fun brawler and really important brawler because his super, if you power up a teammate who's about to hypercharge or is going to hypercharge, can be game-changing. And his basic attack is also really fun if you can bounce it off walls. But other than that, Ruffs is just okay, and that's why he's staying in the B tier. Next, we have Jessie. Now, Jessie is also a really fun brawler at low trophies because of her bounce shots, similar to Penny. She can deal a lot of damage, when people get close. And her turret is also really good in 3v3. But other than that, Jessie is staying in the B tier. Now, next we have Rico. Now, Rico is really good on certain maps with lots of walls because he can bounce off his shots. But other than that, he's just okay, and his damage is a little bit lackluster in open range, with no walls. Next, we have Chuck. Now, Chuck, when he came out, was so OP. But after, people have learned how to play him, he's just okay. But he's still really, really, really good in Hot Zone and Knockout. Although Hot Zone and Heist, not Knockout. In Knockout and Brawl Ball, he struggles in because his posts reset after each goal or round. Next, we have Gale. Now, Gale can be really fun to play because he can just slow people down with his star power. And overall, his attack has a pretty wide range, so you have a good chance of hitting your shot. But other than that, his super doesn't do a ton of damage, and he's just okay, but fun to play in 3v3. Next, we have Lola. Now, Lola is an interesting brawler because her super basically doubles her damage output. And when played well, can help hit people over walls and even do damage to the heist safe. But without her super, Lola's not incredible, but she is in the B tier for sure. Next, we have Squeak. Now, Squeak is also a really fun brawler because, in modes like Hot Zone or really anywhere where his attack and his gadget, too, can help control the map, he can be great. But other than that, he's just okay. Now, after Squeak, we have Janet. Now, Janet is a really good brawler if you can just, combine her ability to do good damage in close range and long range. And when her supercharge rate got buffed recently, she's been better at surviving, but she's still in the B tier. Next, we have Colt. Now, Colt is simply here because of his hypercharge and his really good ability to be able to break walls, and that's what makes him a great brawler. Next, we have Piper. Now, Piper's ability to snipe and do a lot of damage from long range is good, but her health is a little bit low, and she can get countered by throwers. Next, we have Pam. Now, Pam is a really good brawler at healing supports. She's a really good support brawler. But, she sometimes struggles to deal a lot of damage. But other than that, great brawler. By the way, I'd just like to ask you guys all to try and comment what you think I should change on this tier list. Or if you're really feeling ambitious, then you can make your own tier list by going to tiermaker.com. Okay. Now, next on the tier list, in the B tier, remember, we're about halfway through this tier list, so these are like the best of the best, pretty much. The higher B tier, the A tier, and the S tier. So we have Belle. Now, Belle is a really good brawler because her super can be really, really good. And especially in Showdown, it's really annoying because everybody deals extra damage to you. Her bounce shots are also annoying too. But overall, it's just a great long-range brawler. After Belle, we have Mandy. Now, Mandy can deal insane damage with her basic attack, and her super, being able to travel the whole map and deal, 5,000 damage, is really good. So Mandy is towards the higher B tier. However, she does rely on standing still for her range, which makes her a pretty easy target. So that's why Mandy's in the B tier. Next up, we have Pearl. Now, Pearl can be a great brawler when she has a lot of her heat, which stores up when she's not attacking. But in really aggressive modes, like Brawl Ball, or what else is aggressive? Heist, she can struggle to really do a lot of damage. Also, her hypercharge, although it does buff her damage, doesn't really do a lot because her super usually already one-shots. So the black hole that she has doesn't help her a ton. Next, we have Gray. Now, Gray is also really good because of his ability to provide teleporters to teammates. And he's also a pretty decent long-range threat, but his shots can be hard to hit. Next, we have Otis. Now, Otis has always been an interesting brawler because of his super, which mutes teammates. But because of these new hypercharges, his ability to silence a hypercharge is crazy and can be really crucial. Next, we have Gene. Now, Gene is a really good brawler too, because any brawler he can out DPS in close range, which is a lot of them, he can pull in with his super and be great. But some of these brawlers, they will just out DPS him in close range, and that way his super isn't so great. Next, we have Buster. Now, Buster is one of the best brawlers, or at least was, in terms of, hitting people in close range, but also wide, so hitting a lot of people. But once his gadget got nerfed, slow-mo replay, it took away the slow effect. So he just hasn't been as good after that nerf. Next, we have Rosa. Now, Rosa is one of the best tanks in the game because of her hypercharge, which really helps enemies stay near her, while she also has her super, so she's really hard to kill while in that. Okay, next are the A-tier brawlers. And starting off the A-tier, we have Charlie. Now, Charlie was the best brawler in the game when she first came out, and still was for a long time. But after she's finally been nerfed to a more balanced brawler, she's in the A-tier, but her super can still change the game. Next, we have Nani. Now, Nani's damage got buffed recently, a few seasons ago, but his health also got nerfed last update, so he's in the A-tier. Still, his ability to deal tons of damage from long range and close range, along with his super, which can help deal damage even when you're not near people and you'll have to risk your health, can be really, really good. Next, we have Amber. Now, Amber's a great brawler for people who can't aim, but, she's just, a good brawler, but when she, runs out of her thing, it can be hard to do well with her. So, next, in the A tier, we have, give me one sec. We have Sandy. Now, Sandy's super can be really game-changing in 3v3, simply because it gives all of his teammates invisibility. It can either heal them or damage the enemies, and it's just so big that it makes a really big difference. Next, we have RT. Now, RT is a really, really fun brawler to play because of his light, which makes you do a lot of damage. Really, really good, and especially in game modes where his teammates can take advantage of that too. And overall, a great brawler, although you do have to know how to play his super well and not die. Next, we have Bo. Now, when Bo's damage got nerfed by 20% in the last update, he's just been really good. And of course, his mines have also been a great way to control area. Next in the A tier, we have Miko. Now, Miko is also been a pretty new brawler, just like Charlie. But his ability to jump over walls and just jump in and out has been really good. But his reload speed is lackluster, so he's in the A tier for now. Next, we have Shelly. Now, ever since Shelly's movement and speed got buffed a while ago, she's always been one of the best brawlers in the game. And getting a hypercharge didn't hurt her at all. Shelly's always been a really solid brawler, and I think always will be. Next in the A tier, we have Dynamite. Now, Dynamite has always been a strong brawler if you're really good at aiming, because, of course, he can do a lot of damage if you land his shots perfectly. But his hypercharge has helped him a lot and really makes him the best thrower in the game, in my opinion. Next in the A tier, we have Crow. Now, Crow is always been a really good brawler. When his slow gadget got nerfed recently, he's just dropped a little bit, but his hypercharge helped boost him right back up to some of the best of the best. Now, rounding off the A tier, we have Colette. Now, Colette was always an okay brawler, but her inability to take out people because of her percentage damage was always an issue. However, when she received her hypercharge, she's become one of the best in the game. Finally, we have the S tier, and starting it off is Edgar. Now, Edgar was never a good brawler. In fact, he was one of the worst brawlers in the game for a long time, just because of how long his super would take, and even if you used the gadget, he just wasn't that incredible. You'd get a max of 3 or 4 kills per match using the gadget. But thanks to his hypercharge, he's been able to just change the game in one play. And it doesn't matter whether you failed the whole rest of the game, because it just changes the game so much. Next, we have Spike. Now, Spike has always been a good brawler. And when he got his mythic gear a while ago, his super became a lot better. But now with his hypercharge, which makes that even better, it's a great 1-2 punch. Although, unfortunately, that mythic gear did get nerfed recently. But he's still a great brawler. Next, we have Leon. Now, Leon's hypercharge is also really good, and especially if you're not used to, going against people that are invisible. Now, imagine that they can shoot while they're in it, and unlike Leon's regular super, they'll stay invisible, which is really hard to counter. And also, Leon's just a great brawler and a great assassin in general. Next, we have Maisie. Now, Maisie's ability to get a super and like 3 shots was already really good when she first came out. It has always been pretty high in the tier lists, but her hypercharge, which charges in only 6 shots, is insane because of how fast she can get it. Next, we have Lou. Now, Lou, in my opinion, has the best hypercharge in the entire game. His ability to just freeze everybody, and he and his teammates can capitalize on it, is crazy. Also, his regular attack, freezing people anyway, and his super and his gadget just makes him a really annoying brawler. Next in the S tier, we have Cordelius. Now, Cordelius has always been a good brawler since he came out a few seasons ago in Season 19, but his ability to just cancel hypercharges completely and turn the tide from a hypercharge brawler having the advantage to him in the advantage in his super is really good. Also, he has 2 really good gadgets, one that mutes people and one that lets him, jump, kind of like Miko. So, he's a really great brawler. Also close to being the best brawler in the game, we have Fang. Now, Fang actually had to have an emergency nerf at the beginning of the season to show how good he was. But his hypercharge and his super have always been, his super's always been good, but his hypercharge really enhanced that a lot, and he can just be a really scary threat, especially in modes with walls where you wouldn't expect him to come, and then he does. But the best brawler in all of Brawl Stars is Kit. Now, Kit is just so, I just can't understand Kit. She's just so OP. She can either jump onto you, and you take a bunch of damage, and you're immobilized for a bunch of time, and then Kit's teammates can hit you too. Or Kit jumps onto a teammate and does incredible damage as a thrower, doing like 4,000 damage per shot and healing the teammate, which makes her just an insane brawler. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.